Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Morning PD with Sheka and Tammy from Create and Educate LLC. We are so happy to have you all joining us this morning. So, thank you very, very much for being a part of this Saturday morning experience with us. Again, we want to welcome everybody and encourage you to invite others to come on in and join us for this morning's PD. We're super, super excited about our discussion this morning and invite you guys to join in that discussion and invite your friends to come on over and hear what we're going to be sharing on this morning. We just got off from Principal Hurt, who just joined us. Good morning, Principal Hurt. And I hope everybody takes advantage of all of the information that he shared this morning concerning iReady. And I know that if you aren't an iReady district, he does the same thing with NWEA and MAP. So please take advantage of that wisdom and his expertise in digging into that data. But we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you again for joining us. We also want to thank everybody for the overwhelming response that we're having to folks reserving a copy of our new book. So if you still haven't reserved your copy, reach out and make sure that you do that. We also want to invite you, if you haven't picked up a copy of our current book, the Women Who Lead anthology, please be sure to visit the website so that you can grab a copy of that as well. Good morning, Principal Tovar. Thank you for joining us this morning. We also would like to just tell you how super excited we are about our event on Tuesday. So if you have not RSVP'd and you're interested in joining us for either part of the day, and maybe for that discussion of making the shift in education, we want to invite you to join us in that conversation, because we know that things do have to shift at this point. We can't continue to do business as usual. So we're inviting you guys to take a part in that amazing event that we're expecting. So we we cannot go without saying congratulations to Principal Kafele. We're so super excited that he is bestseller ASCD, and we want to say congratulations to him for that. We know why people are grabbing that book, because it is absolutely amazing. So we're so thankful for the opportunity to sit at his feet and learn from him, and to see how he is impacting education and society in general with this social justice information that he is sharing throughout the country. We want to say we see that Dr. Larry White has joined us. Good morning, Dr. White. Thank you for being with us this morning. And Belinda Campbell has joined us. So good morning, and thank you for being with us as well. We're asking, guys, that you just please take advantage of this Saturday, actually the weekend PD experience, because you have on Saturday mornings, you can start your day with Principal Hurt at 10 o'clock, and then Sheka and I are on at 10:30, and following us, of course, is Principal Kafele with his virtual AP Academy. And then on Sunday evening, Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock, Principal Josh Tovar is bringing it with Unlock the Middle. So you have the opportunity to really get some amazing PD in over the weekend. And each one of us have committed to doing that so that we can help to change this trajectory that we keep talking about. We want to be impactful. We see this need and we're trying to fill it. So please continue to take advantage of that. This morning, I'm very excited about our discussion because Shika and I were discussing an article that showed up in the Educational Leadership September edition. And in the edition is a discussion of a survey that was given to 1,000 teachers. And what the survey was asking was for teachers to identify changes in education that would support, su- best support, not just support, but best support students learning as schools reopen and begin to recover from the pandemic. And that's near and dear to us because we're going to spend a good bit of time on Tuesday just digging into that, how things have to shift. I'm going to share some statistics with you from the results of the survey, and we're going to kind of dig into that this morning. But again, we want to say thank you to everybody who is on with us. We are elated and appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. So the statistics from the survey were some were, as you might expect, the most startling for me, and Shika can talk about this from her own reality, but I was very surprised that 93% of the teachers were proud of how they had adapted their teaching to meet students' needs over the past year. Now, we know that it's very different in the way that things had to occur. Things had to change and shifts were occurring all over the place. So teachers had to be adaptive. But I was surprised that 93% of the teachers really felt confident enough to say, yes, we made that pivot and we were very proud of what we had done. Additional statistics were 53% recommended a focus on fewer grade level standards, which we can certainly identify with. 34% think schools need more paraprofessionals to provide support to struggling learners. And then 30% recommended more social emotional learning resources to help students process the effects of the past year. So, as Shika and I talked this morning, good morning, Principal Baggage. Thank you for joining us. As we talk this morning, because again, these things are very important to us because many of these things are things that we've been thinking about. And we totally agree that these are things that can change the trajectory of the way that we see education going. Shika, you ready for us to get started?
I am. Thank you, Tammy, for the introduction of everything that we're working on and talking about this morning. And good morning again to everyone. That first statistic, 53% of the teachers recommended a focus on fewer grade level standards. When Tammy and I looked at just our state's standard document this morning for one subject, language arts, it was 106 pages. And as we were on with Principal Hurt this morning, who was talking about those focus standards and those power standards. Good morning, Principal Kafele. One of the things that we have to do as educators as we're preparing for these shifts in education, because they're here, we have to make sure we're a part of these conversations and these planning sessions where the standards are shifting, where things are being rewritten, because a 106-page document for teachers to be able to understand is a lot. So we need to make sure that these documents, these things that are being prepared for students and teachers, they have to be easily understood. And I think that, fewer pages definitely will help with that.
Don't you think too, Shika, though, the big thing I think that we're going to have a discussion about at some point, and this is probably nationally, we're going to have to start looking at when they write the standards, because most of what we're having to spend time doing in schools related to standards is hope to unpack them so that the teachers know exactly how to provide that level of instruction. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that this is so complicated, or it's written
Mhm.
so formally that you have to have an interpreter to help you to determine exactly what this means you're supposed to be doing in your classroom. And then the other thing with the 106 pages, we need to start thinking about some of the things that you had said before. First things need to come first. Like, what
Right.
is the most important for kids to be able to know from what we're asking here? And
Mhm.
that's what we need to focus on, because then it
Exactly.
won't feel so overwhelming to teachers, and it won't feel so overwhelming to the students.
Exactly. And that's why our discussion on Tuesday, as we're bringing in these university leaders, the deans and professors, the people who are in charge of developing the curriculums for teachers that prepare teachers to become teachers and leaders to become leaders, it's so important that they have found our what we're doing is hosting this event as important, because they need to hear what our experiences have been to better be able to inform their programs to prepare people for what's at hand. And like you said, Tammy, we've got to begin with the end in mind. What are we preparing students for this future of society? When you go around and you see all of the help wanted signs up, and we know that we live in a capitalist society, so many of these corporations are not going to close their businesses, but they're going to change how they're doing things. One of the things that I did in all of my town hall meetings with students is just making sure that students also were at the forefront of seeing what the future looks like. And Amazon has a store in Seattle that I showed them a video of, where you just go in, you scan an app on your phone. They have a specialized bag that's created with special technology. Everything that you put in that bag goes into your cart on your app on your phone. And when you walk out of the store with that bag, not having to have gone through any register, you're charged. And those are the things that we have to be at the forefront of in education. What are we preparing students for? What are the jobs going to be? Because a lot of them don't exist right now. So having that vision of what that looks like and what we need to prepare students for has a lot to do with, well, what standards are going to be needed.
Exactly.
So we
And not all
really,
of them may.
right.
I saw Principal Hart's comment about how much work it is to get in there and unpack those standards, and it is. That's the reason that there has to be a conversation, because the time that we're spending trying to help teachers to understand what to teach and how to
Mhm.
teach it could be spent doing other things, like providing support to students or
Exactly.
enriching kids. So it, we have to think about, like, how much is too much? Like, is this even necessary? Like, can we do this with fewer standards? So I totally understand that particular statistic. I'm surprised it wasn't higher.
Exactly. And one of the things from the interview we even had with Dr. Dickey before about how many standards that there actually are,
Mhm.
unpacking the standards in a time where we are now having to do all of the contact tracing, where students may be out of school for weeks at a time. We have to really look at, not only are we just focusing on the important standards, but even looking at how we're communicating with parents, what should be happening with students while they're at home on quarantine. What is a quarantine? When I went to college, there were some things that you could actually take as self-study courses,
Right.
and I opted out of some classes. Some of our students would do really well with that. And when we look at graduation rates, is this something that could impact and increase graduation rates? Certain things being self-study, or allowing students to gain some of their Carnegie units through that mode, because we've got to get out of the traditional mindset of thinking that well, everybody has to be here in person, we have to do everything face to face, because as we saw, that wasn't possible at that time, and
Right.
it wasn't necessary. Now it is necessary for some children, need that more face to face, and then those are things we have to incorporate with conversations with parents as well.
And
How do
Shika,
I do
I'm
that?
sorry, I'm going to interrupt, but I was thinking when you were talking, one of the other things that I think
Mm-hmm.
is also going to be or have to become a part of that conversation is we're going to have to help parents to understand truly what synchronous and asynchronous learning is, not just throw those words at them. Like
Right.
we're telling them that, but we're going to have to help them to understand, oh, it's okay. They can learn from home. And
Exactly.
you don't have to be fearful of this process because we can show you how to do this in a way that can help your child to be successful. But right now, I think what happens is we say this to them, and that's an area where I think as educators holistically we're going to have to change the way we address them, because we can't just speak that education ease to parents and use these words that they really truly don't understand. But we're going to have to get in there and just try our best to make sure that they are a part of this process, and especially that virtual piece that you were talking about. I reached out to our virtual parents yesterday
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure, like, what do you guys need? And again, there are needs that are great because sometimes they don't understand
Mm-hmm.
exactly how all that works. And I think it's contingent upon us, not you and me, but us holistically too, to be able to provide that layer of support. And that's the one thing that I love about the work that we do with the collaborative. We're
Mm-hmm.
able to provide that space for us all to be able to understand what each other are trying to say.
Exactly. Everything you said is definitely spot on. And we actually could probably spend a whole nother hour talking about this, but we're gonna move on to the next statistic. And I brought Jasmine. Good morning, Jasmine.
Hey,
Comment
Jen.
back up because this is where we're moving. With the next one, 34% think schools need. Oh, actually, the last one, 30% recommend more social and emotional learning resources to help students process the effects of the last year. And this fits right into Jasmine's comment about some students are struggling with how to communicate their emotions, resolve conflicts, and envisioning their futures. And that is so true. There are assessments for social and emotional needs of children that can be given to students to even figure out where that is, because a lot of
Absolutely.
times the children have come back to school and the first thing that us academia people want to do is, oh, let's get this test to see what y'all have missed and where we need to catch you up on your learning. And then they're not even at a point where they're ready to learn yet, because we haven't met those social and emotional needs where they're really confused, they're
Uh-huh.
dealing with some grief or trauma. We don't know what they're dealing with,
Yeah.
because in some cases that question has not been asked. So
Yeah.
for those assessments on social and emotional needs of children, staff members, we have some of those assessments. If you need access to those, inbox us, email us, contact us. We'll definitely be willing to share. What I'm doing now as the MTSS coordinator really surrounds all of this social and emotional learning, the response to intervention, and PBIS are all combined under the one umbrella of MTSS. So
Yes.
we have access to a great deal of resources for that, and we do have to start there. We
And that is your work is so important because it overarches so many things that are crucial to us getting kids where they're needing to be. But I just want to commend Jasmine for the comment, because the other thing that I'm seeing, and I don't know if you see it as well, Jasmine, but the kids are angrier than I've ever seen them.
Yes.
They don't know how to respond to one another anymore. It's like that year really did something to them
Mm-hmm.
socially, and there's a social awkwardness there where the kids don't know how to resolve their conflicts anymore. And the need is there. We're going to have to work on that for them. We're going to have to work on that social emotional piece to get them prepared and in the mindset for learning. I know at our school right now, I have 3 times the number of referrals that
Mm.
we've had by this time last year. Now,
Wow.
and I'm not saying they are major or horrific things, but there are things
Right.
that typically aren't things that are happening with the students. But what I'm also seeing is not just the social and emotional for the children, it's the staff, because things that I've noticed have them on edge aren't things that always would have had them anxious either. So you have this trauma that you're trying to deal with, both with the kids and with the staff, and we're going to have to address this with that survey, as you were talking about, for finding out exactly what they need so that we can respond to it.
Exactly, Tammy. And Principal Baggage last week talked about how one of his teachers had lost their daughter. I mean, people are dealing with a lot, and if we're not addressing that first, nothing, everything else really doesn't matter. And like you said, seeing an uptick in the violence, in the just conflict, that has been a national thing. And I'm really excited to have Dr. Carter, who's going to be speaking at the conference on Tuesday. And if you haven't registered for the Lunch and Learn, it is a hybrid event. Make sure that you are registered for either the online portion or the in-person portion. And we're excited to have Principal Hurt that will be joining us on site with us. So if you are in
Very
South
excited.
Carolina or North Carolina or in driving
Come
distance,
on down.
yes, Georgia, we shared in our last email some hotel information because we were even intentional about this conference, including self-care strategies embedded in the conference. So we are so excited about that because this is a need for everybody. I mean, everybody has experienced trauma from the pandemic when your lives and everything that you do and the way that you do them have been turned upside down. We've got to figure out how to process this.
Absolutely.
And the children, of course, we've got to walk them through how to process these things as well. But what I was saying was Dr. Carter is going to talk about this uptick in violence that is being seen nationally. And, we're going to try to provide some strategies. But when we're informing these university curriculum developers, these are the things that they need to hear. What is actually happening? Because we can't just keep doing what we've been doing, as Principal Hurt
Exactly.
talked about. We have to make some changes.
For sure.
And as things are starting to change, we have to make sure that we are in the spaces where major decisions are being made about education. We can't just sit back and be passive and wait for things to be handed down. We have to be a part of those conversations and say, look, this is what needs to happen.
Exactly. And
Because
how
if
about we're over time, Sheka?
I
We
know,
were paying attention to time. But before we get out of here, Belinda, thank you for the comment, because you're right. um, the expectations still have to be there. We're going to have to work through it to
yeah,
make sure that the kids are okay, as well as the staff. So, guys, thank y'all again for joining us. And if you can, come and see us on Tuesday.
yes, Tuesday, October the 5th, we will put the website up where you can reserve your copy of It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the top, where we are outlining our leadership journey as well as what it's been like to lead during the pandemic. And there's hybrid options for the event. So it's virtual as well as in person. So we hope that you all register, and we hope to see you on Tuesday. Hop on over to
To
Principal
see Principal
Facebook
Kapayla.
page because that's where we're going. Thank you guys.
You guys have a good rest of your Saturday.
Yes.